with the godfather of hockey, Bob McKenzie. Bob, you've been involved in the game a long time. How far has it evolved, especially at the junior level, from when you were covering it to what you see now?
Well, there's obviously a huge difference. It's so much more of a business now than it was back then. And it was then, but just not nearly the same. And like everything else, the hockey's really improved. But I mean, I covered the OHL in the late 70s and early 80s, and those were exciting times. And it was old school hockey. I remember Bill LaForge was with the Oshawa Generals and the battles with the Sioux Greyhounds and the Peterborough Petes and that. But it's, all the teams are deeper. The kids are more athletic. They train better. They eat better. It's just like night and day. But that's probably true of the National Hockey League, and it's just as true, if not more so, at junior hockey.
The Generals have come out to an absolutely electric start that surprised a lot of people. Is it surprised even people up at the higher levels that this team has really turned it on? And what is it about them that seems to be so successful?
Well, honestly, I don't see enough of the junior games to be able to break down what exactly the Generals have done this year. But I know when they lost Jenner and they lost Biggs and some of those guys, some people thought they were going to take a step back. But a lot of people maybe didn't realize how good Dal Cole is, or how good Lawton is. And once they got Lawton back from Philadelphia, they had a veteran guy that could really lead, and Dal Cole's been terrific. And I think the acquisition of Sturk early on gives them a lot more offense than they might have otherwise had. So I'm not all that surprised, because, as I said, they've got some real good young players, and we're certainly going to see that in the draft this year.
Speaking of Dal Cole, do you think there's any chance that he has a opportunity to maybe unseat Ekblad or Reinhart?
At the beginning of the season, I talked to at least one NHL Chief Scout who had him number one. We did our preseason top 10, and one guy I talked to had Dal Cole at number one, but most everybody else had him further down in the top 10 or outside the top 10. I'd be surprised. I would think Reinhart and Ekblad are both off to good starts. Dal Cole is obviously having a heck of a year too. So you never know. It really depends a lot on which team's picking, and we've still got to go through the regular season, see what the placement is, also what the situation is vis-a-vis the lottery and who wins that. But no, he's an elite level pick, and I'm sure he's going to go high.
We've seen a lot of talk about Connor McDavid, maybe making the World Junior team. Do you think he's made enough of an impression to join the likes of Crosby and Tavares to be a 16-year-old on the World Junior team?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, in this Subway Super Series game here in Oshawa, he was intermittently brilliant. He had some great chances, and so much good offensively happens, but he's also 16, and he plays like a 16-year-old at times, which is not uncommon, and even you saw that last year on the Generals with some of their guys, and that. And 16-year-olds, sometimes they forget to keep the feet moving. They don't get, there's a consistency level that they struggle with a little bit, but he's a special player, and they're certainly going to give him a long look. And keep in mind what he did at the under-18s was just remarkable. So that won't soon be forgotten, and yet it's tough. Got 17, 18, and 19-year-olds ahead of him. It'll be an interesting call.
Switching gears to the Russian team, Sergei Tolchinsky, it's something that I've been wondering. How was Carolina able to sign him as a free agent after just 1 year of draft eligibility? Well,
there's a window there that if you invite a guy to your camp or whatever, you have a certain amount of time that you can sign him to a contract. So they jumped on that quickly. As soon as they took him to Traverse City and saw how well he played in Traverse City, they knew exactly that they didn't want to leave this to chance and wait a while. So there's an open window there for some time after he's returned that you're eligible, but then at some point the guys go back into the next year's draft. So Carolina jumped on it early, and good for them. He's been a good player for Sault Ste. Marie.
Just quickly before we let you go, I wanted to touch on the experience in the Ontario Hockey League. What was it like in the 70s to be involved in this and get a big start here?
Well, it's no different than it is now to that extent. It's a great place for the players to learn, the coaches, the managers, the scouts, the broadcasters, newspaper guys. So, a lot of people that covered junior hockey back in the day or worked in junior hockey back in the day are running NHL teams or involved in a lot of different capacities. So I really enjoyed my time in the Sioux. Got up there in the summer of '78 was the summer Gretzky and Hartsburg left, and then I went back to my final final year of school, and when I finally came back, it coincided with the Greyhounds becoming a pretty good team in the OHL, going to the OHL final that year against Brian Bellows and the Kitchener Rangers, and that. So it's a great training ground, that's for sure.
Well, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us, Bob, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Hey,